Hello my lovelies. So, wrapping up my little mini 2017 wrap-up series type thing, I'm going to get into the books that surprised and astounded me with how good they are in 2017. These are no particular order, I just yanked these fuckers off my shelf. Hunted by Meagan Spooner, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it has some Russian fairy tales and folklore mixed into it, which I really enjoyed. I would have enjoyed more if I knew the Russian fairy tales beforehand, but it was still a really good story, and I also really individually just like the formatting of the actual book itself. So when you read it, the story is from our Belle's point of view, but then the Beast's, can you see that? His pages have like these foresty backgrounds, and they're written and it looks like script, like cursive, penmanship, whatever. But then as we get to the end, when he starts losing his shit, they're like either ink spattered or blood spattered. So you can see like where he started like tearing up shit. I really enjoyed that because it shows like his headspace over the course of the book. They start off like neat and succinct, and then the narrative, like the beast starts taking over, so you can see in just like the words that are used and the way that he's talking gets more like choppy, and then you start to see the ink slash, I thought they were blood spatters. It only occurred to me recently that maybe it could be ink splatters, but whatever, you start to see those later on, and I really enjoyed this book, and now I kind of want to read it again. Then we have Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Garnall. This is a YA contemporary about mental health. It's about a teenager who deals with agoraphobia and anxiety and depression and all these things, and it is a own voices novel, which makes it even better. And I was expecting to like it. I just did not, especially as someone who works in mental health, expect to love it as much as I did, but probably because this is the first YA mental health story that is an own voices one that I've read. So it's just like the accuracy and just being like, the accuracy of being in that headspace of somebody who's like having like these anxiety and panic attacks, and just like seeing their headspace and like how they feel before and when they know it's coming, and how they feel during, and like the shitty way they feel afterwards, and like the kind of like the embarrassment and the self-worth that you struggle with, knowing like you just had this attack that you feel like, you know, it was a stupid reason to you. You worry about how other people look at you after you had it too. And I really also enjoyed the romance in this book, because the love interest, it wasn't one of those I want to get better because I like this boy kind of a thing, and it wasn't a, well, you gotta get your shit together before you can be with me kind of a thing. From the love interest point of view, he actually took the opportunity and the time to learn more about the things she was struggling with and the best ways to approach and deal with her. And I love it so much. And then even like at the end, you can tell that it wasn't a magic fix. It was, they still, like, you could still tell, like, they were working on it, and it was going to be a thing that they were working on, and the end of the book didn't end with magically shouldn't have these issues anymore. It just ended with progress made and the hint of more progress and more work for these two as a couple to come. And I fucking loved it so much. It's so good. It's so good. Really, just, I don't even like YA contemporary, and I fucking love this book, so you need to read it. Okay? Cool. Then I have Cry Wolf by Patricia Briggs. This book contains Cry Wolf and Alpha and Omega, which is 0.05 and 0.1 in the Alpha and Omega series, which is a spin-off of the Mercy Thompson series. This one, Mercy was a walker. This one is all werewolves, and it has those pack politics and that just carnal werewolf just, that I love, and just, so good. So good! I already did a review for this, and not gonna get into it. Just trust me, it's awesome. Then there is An Ember in the Ashes and A Torch Against the Night by Sawa Tahir. I didn't really hear much. This was not a booktube rec, believe it or not. This one was a book that was recommended to me on Goodreads, you know, the little stuff off in the corner. Well, if you read this, you might like An Ember in the Ashes. And I was like, okay, it sounds pretty good. Nobody really talks about it that much on booktube, at least the channels I watch, and I don't know why, because I read An Ember in the Ashes and I was just fucking floored. I was blown away. It was awesome. It was suspenseful. It was just, I loved it. I loved it. It has a lot of like Roman inspired, like, the sweater's itchy. So in An Ember in the Ashes, there's like a Roman soldier, he's not Roman, but they're inspired by Romans. It's like this Roman militia structure kind of thing going on, Roman Empire structure. And then we have this soldier and then this slave girl, and we have like their forbidden romance kind of a thing. And it's just, I don't even want to explain it because you just need to read it, but it's oh so good. I'm waiting for Reaper at the Gates any day now. And there was The Fabulousness That Is the City of Brass by S.A. Chakrabarty. I love this book. It was really good. This is a fantasy. It is set in a world with djinn and a really awesome magic system, and I did a review for this. I'm not really gonna I'll link it down below because I don't want this video to be 9 years long, but oh god, I was not expecting what I got when I read this book. It is a diverse novel. It's diverse as far as cultures, religions, ethnicities. It's diverse in that there are like different cultures and religions amongst the magical creatures as well as the humans. It has different sexualities represented. I love this book. It was so fucking good. Then there's The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This one I have heard some people talk about on BookTube, and I think I bought no, I bought this because of a quote. There's a bag that I have. I can't even remember what the quote is now, but it's, I keep all my art stuff in the tote bag. It came in a fairy loot box, and the quote was from the Mime Order. And then I looked it up, and it's like, ooh, Bone Season sounds really good. So, that's how I ended up with the series. But I listened to it, actually, I like the narrator's voice in the audiobook, so I went to listen to it, and I listened to it on a road trip, and I just hammered out the entire thing like on a 19-hour drive, and it was really good. This one is sci-fi. It's set in this world where there are different kind of, I don't want to call them supernatural, they're not really sorcerers either, they just have, these people have these magical abilities. So it's in sci-fi, like dystopian kind of a world where everybody who has these abilities are really supposed to be like segregated or registered or whatever, and then we have this one girl who is like hidden, and she gets discovered, and she's like, I keep calling them secret police, that's not what they are, but they basically come and kidnap her. She gets like outed for having these powers, and the secret police show up and come and take her away to this facility slash compound where the outside world thinks these people are kind of getting reformed, or they're, you know, used to help society, and it's really like a half genocidal work camp kind of a thing. Like, they don't just like kill everybody off, but they will kill you real quickly if you break the rules. There's a lot of made up terminology that is based on like 1920s mob slang in this book that I thoroughly enjoy, but you have to be careful if you're switching back and forth between the audiobook and this one. If you haven't read it first, you read the audiobook first, and you pick this up, you're gonna be real confused. You're like, the fuck is that? And it takes you a second because a lot of things were not pronounced like I thought they were, but this book was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will be reading The Mime Order and Song Rising hopefully here soon, because this, but I have to reread this first because I listened to an audiobook, and when I listen to things on audiobook, especially when I'm driving, sometimes I'll zone out, and if I don't want to keep rewinding and catching like sentences, I miss a lot of things sometimes, so I will have to go back probably and reread this before I listen to it. I mean, read the rest, but oh god, so good. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. Then there is The Awesomeness That Is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So Red Rising was one of the ones that I did hear about a lot on BookTube, but because of the cover of this one, I thought it was like some Russian-based war historical fiction. I was like, that's not really for me. But everybody kept talking about how fucking good it was. So I, in one of these Amazon Kindle sales, like 6 or 7 months ago, they're like, hey, Red Rising is $1.99. So I got it. And then I started to read it, and then I just got distracted and put it down. And then Leanna started reading it. She's like, have you read this yet? And I was like, I mean, I guess. So I finally finished it, and then I binged the rest of the series in the next like 2 to 3 weeks-ish, and just, my brain exploded. My brain exploded. Now, it's very adult. It's very gritty. There's some dark themes in here. There's a lot of characters that don't make it. It's like Game of Thrones in that aspect, where it's like, don't get attached to too many people because they might not make it in the next chapter. Yeah. but it's really good. I really loved it. I'm waiting for Iron Gold, which is the next start of the next. I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or a series or whatever that's set in this world. The main character from this book is supposed to show up in that world, make his cameos and whatnot. So we will see. I'm really stoked for it. Comes out in January. I'm waiting. Then there is Steelheart by Sanderson, which I got an audio version in one of those 2-for-1 sci-fi fantasy audiobook sales. So you use 1 credit and get 2 books, and I got this one and Hunted by Mercedes Lackey. Holy fuck. This is my first Sanderson book, BT dubs. And it spoke to me, and this was a good one for me to start off with because it deals with like that. Okay, so this book is about, there are these group of just people who just pop up and have these superpowers. But instead of being heroes, they're very much the opposite, and they subjugate and dictate and just take over, and just basically they're like really amped up crime lords now. And there's this group of people that are are like a rebel group that spend their time trying to figure out how to take them down. So what I really like about this book is that it deals with like that Superman ideology, and that in the beginning they have this character that's fighting with the idea of like, why do you have a person who's like got all these powers and he doesn't use them for good? And it just kind of floors him for a while. And he deals with that those rose-tinted glasses just getting shattered. He finds out in a very harsh way that no, like this guy popped up and he's got like all these Superman type powers. So he thinks it's going to be a very real life Superman type thing where, you know, there are these heroes now. And he finds out in a very cruel, very in your face way that that's not what this is going to be like. So he grows up to be one of these people that just wants to get in with this group that's fighting to take them down because he has a personal vendetta now to take these people down. I love this book. I binged it. And then I went and bought the hardcover version of it after I binged the audiobook. And now I am waiting. I have found finally the second one in hardcover, and I'm waiting for the third one to pop up so I can get it, and not because I probably will just binge the rest of the series. It's like towing that line between YA and adult, and it does, like, the main character is a teenage boy, which he does have his teenage boy moments where he gets distracted by boobs and shit. I'm just like, bro, that's why I don't like male protagonists a lot, because I don't like to be in their headspace. I don't. But this one was, oh god, so good. I've yet to get anybody else to read it, but I'm working on it. Then we have The Daughter of Smoke and Bone and Strange to Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I read this one first. It was one of those books I really wasn't sure about. Like, I wasn't going to get it until I saw Leanna unbox the UK cover in a fairy loot box, and I went and ordered it, and thankfully they still had one with the blue sprayed pages, and it's signed, and I'm super stoked about it. But I read it not knowing what to expect because the summary was vague AF, and then I was just blown the fuck away. And it ended on like a cliffy, kinda, and I needed more. So I'd had this series already. I'd had it for months, but I just hadn't gotten around to it yet. So then I just went and started this one. And I was kind of scared that I'd started with Laini Taylor's best work, because how could anything be as good as or better than Strange to Dreamer? And then I read this one and I was like, oh, what am? I read this one in like a day, and I fucking was amazed and completely blown away by it as well. I'm not going to tell you what either one are about, because these are books that you really just need to go into blind, but most people have read them already, and they are just fucking fabulous. Like, I'm in the process of reading Days of Blood and Starlight right now, and it is ripped my heart out, put it in a blender, mixed some battery acid in, and then threw it right back in my face. So I will not be binging it just because there are so many fucking feels, but crap, just so good. 2017 will probably go down in my personal booktube history as the year that Laini Taylor bludgeoned me with her awesomeness. That is all of the books I think I have that surprised the ever-loving crap out of me in a good way in 2017. What are some books that you were just kind of really just blah about when you heard about them, and then you read it and you were just floored? I need to know. Let me know down in the comments, and I will meet you guys there. We'll see you later. Bye.